All right, welcome to another episode of Social Justice Alchemy. Oh, dang it, no. I'll edit that out.
You screwed it up already? How many times have you done this already? Like 35?
Something like that, about 3 dozen, yep. All right. Hey there, friends. Welcome to another week. Although, remember, the work week is a fiction. Monday, doubly so. You can get rid of them if you really want to. This is Social Justice Alchemy. Me, John, and our friends Julie and Jonathan.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So, anything you want to talk about in particular?
Jonathan had some subject you wanted to talk about.
Oh well, yes. This while we were recording our last week's episode, Harris Bruce, or the internet knows him as H Bomber Guy, was doing a charity stream on his Twitch channel, and it was where he was playing Donkey Kong 64 to 101% completion, and in all to raise money for the charity Mermaids UK. It's a charity based in the UK that's it's meant to support trans children and their families, and to get used to it, everything, and to help them with resources that they'll need. And this was all in response to the TV writer and comedian Grant Linehan, who wrote and co-created Father Ted, which is known here in the US in most circles. So it was popular enough and funny enough to have crossed the pond in a way, but also the IT Crowd and a bunch of other shows. And this all 20 years ago, of course, or some time ago. And Grant Linehan is a total, absolute, fucking terrible turf and transphobe. And he had a massive. He basically sent out a mass email campaign to his followers to try to get Mermaid to be defunded, be removed from the national lottery, or as it were, or something like that. And that was kind of successful, where Mermaid is blocked from receiving that money. So in response, and then fuck you to Grand Linehan, basically H Bomb Guy decided to do a charity stream last weekend, and his initial goal was just $500, and if he gets 5,000, great, and it's awesome. But after a while, he was wait a minute, I'm raised over $75,000, and all while playing Donkey Kong 64 to 101% completion, and it just ballooned, as it were. It wasn't until Sunday, middle of noon Sunday in my time, where I was watching, and he was already at what he set a new goal every time they crossed the goal, and he set a new goal for $200,000 as a comical large sum of money or something like that. But then he crossed it, and it was amazing. He literally cried on stream because he thought no one would care. No one was going to paying attention to this. But then it's not only did he had a bunch of his friends, basically most anyone that's on left YouTube, if he pretty much had his friends Dan Olsen, Photo Ideas, KC Explosion, and Ollie Thorne from Philosophy 2 and stuff like that, and they were on. A lot of people were on, but then he also got the voice of Donkey Kong onto the show. The guy who worked at Ware Software. He got the guy who did the Donkey Kong rap at the beginning of the game. He did a rap thing too, include trans rights in it. And he says trans rights. The creator for Donkey Kong said translate, and then it blew up from there, where they got Chelsea Manning on, and then I was watching it live as it happened. I was on the air. Cosmic Cortez was on. Because of Chelsea Manning, I was on a concert because the Cortez got on, and she even says translate and says that the N64 is the best console ever, even though she never owned it. and so in total, after 57 hours that the Harris H Bomber Guy was playing, he didn't play the 57 hours straight. He had naps.
The face of Harris when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez arrived on the stream was just priceless.
Hello?
He was so starstruck truck.
You can tell he was not expecting the response he got.
Yep.
Yeah, John Romero, the creator of Doom, also got on there and it said Translight, so it's now officially canon. Doom and Quake and Wolfenstein 3D are 4 Translights.
And so is the Donkey Kong himself. The guy who did the voice of Donkey Kong got on the stream.
Yes, exactly. Other game creators got on the stream too. It's just like even like our friend and mutual Gwen No Fear got on the stream briefly and stuff like that. She talked about that the next day on a stream with on Kevin Logan's channel. And even though it's like she admitted that she was like terrible at Discord, and so she was talking and she think that other people were hearing her, but it turns out like she didn't. Then when she was on briefly, Jim Sterling was also on there. Yeah, Casey.
Just an aside. As much as I love Kevin, that stream he did was so hijacked by cis women, it was kind of meh.
Yeah, that is fair.
The 2 trans women that were there could hardly talk the whole stream. That's really a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Did you mention how much Harris was able to raise?
I've seen totals of like over $300,000 for sure.
I've seen more than 340,000 actually.
Yeah, that's in the totals I've seen too. I mean, like, and with AOC being on the stream, even in mainstream media talked about that. Also got retweeted by the stream itself. Got retweeted by a bunch of people. It was happening so organically over the weekend. Cher retweeted it. The voice actor and the host of Critical Role, Matthew Mercer, also retweeted it. So it was like, it's one of the few things, I guess, it's like where people, I kind of now have hope for the world that at least for like trans rights, a lot of people, not necessarily everyone a lot, but a lot of people definitely came together.
Yep. Yeah. It was just this really powerful thing that just sort of happened all by itself.
And all to spite the writer Graham Linehan. And the hashtag started like going out of like thanks Graham and
thanks Graham, fuck you Graham.
Yeah, exactly. And also notice what happened organically too is that people started like hashtagging trans crowdfund, because the thing also on the stream itself, people are kind of like saying like this is an absurd amount of money for like one charity. The charity is grateful for it, no problem, and it's like the money, a lot of that money is going to go to the charity. But around that weekend, people started hashtagging trans crowdfund, and almost every trans person that has either like their own Patreon because they're a writer, an author, a content creator, a video maker, or they just like have a PayPal link or a GoFundMe campaign for like their transition, for their HRT, or for whatever they need. A lot of people started like using the hashtag trans crowdfund to like share around. It's like, hey, if you're still in the giving mood for this because of this stream, here's some other people to like give money to. And also throughout the whole stream, also a lot of trans people came on and spoken about how incredible it was. Like when AOC was on, unidentified caller, that's a call to like the now this thing that only identified AOC and H Bomber guy. The rest were unidentified callers in those. Chisley Manny is talking, then Dan Nelson's unidentified caller. But Casey Explosion was like overwhelmed just from the behind the scenes stuff of like receiving DMs from people who, hey, I want to get on the stream and stuff like that, and managing wrangling all of who gets to like be on the stream and get to talk and it's like all that stuff, and getting like AOC or like John Romero or other celebrity guests on, and she was overwhelmed with the amount of support that like trans people were getting and something like that. She was taken aback, choked up, and almost crying on stream when like AOC said trans rights is human rights, is civil rights.
It was just a wonderful, amazing thing that just sort of turned a weekend from a normal weekend into something amazing. So now let's think of a good segue to go from that to something a little bit less pleasant, I think. The Covington kids. Oh, no, fucking kids. The Covington MAGAts in Washington, D.C.
MAGAs.
Are those the teenagers who harassed a Native American man?
Yep.
Okay.
So I found a really good link a really great Facebook post where somebody went through and watched hours of video to try and figure out the story about what was happening there. I'll go ahead and link it now in the Discord.
So I think I was seeing this happening. It says it was almost the same weekend as like the H Bomber Guy stream. So you got like one thing of negativity, but then one thing of positivity happening and stuff like that. And there is some conflicting information out there. But like I'll look to the Facebook post that you posted in the Discord. But like I think for example of one thing that's Dusty Smith kind of like did kind of his reaction to the video and stuff like that. So he has his opinions based on what he has seen or something like that. Yeah. But I'm still kind of think of like, well, they're still wearing MAGA hats and they're still for like the march of like to deny women's rights or something like that. And people have like dug into the history of the school too, and it's just like there's still like a lot of problematic things about the people there in the school.
Yep. The story as it unfolded on social media was just, from what I saw, this short video clip showing this one teenager wearing a MAGA hat right up in the face of a tribal elder who was, doing a chant and playing a drum, just wearing this smug, stupid smile. It went around left Twitter, and everybody was yelling hating on this kid, right? Then the media got a hold of it, and the story started spinning in the other direction. They were saying, no, the tribal elder went up to him, he was trying to make peace, things like that. It turns out the kid's family, in fact, hired a goddamn media consultant to help them spin the story. And then...
That's interesting, yeah. Not surprising, though, but
They hired a PR guy?
Yep, they hired a PR firm to help them spin the story.
Oh my god, what a country.
So Dusty, when he was responding to the media response. That's what he was.
I can believe that, yeah. I can believe it.
But then, like I said, this other guy spent hours combing through footage to put together the story of what actually happened there. It happened at the Lincoln Memorial, and basically this private Catholic high school in, I think, Covington, Kentucky. Or maybe Covington is the name of the school. They bust a whole bunch of their students, it's an all-male school, up to Washington, D.C. to participate in the far-right-wing March for Life.
Yeah, that's kind of like a pro-life thing, so that it's definitely anti-abortion, as it were. So yeah, that's what, no matter what neutral thing people are saying, I'm still like, they're still going to that kind of like of a march. So there's still none of the people with the MAGA hats are friends of mine anyway. So
yep.
And let's stop calling them pro-life though. They're pro-forced birth.
Yeah, they're anti-war.
Pro-forced birth. I like that. It's either that or anti-abortion. I think I know one person who calls himself online on YouTube the dark conservatarian. He says he is anti-abortion. The dark conservatarian. He's basically like a cheap David Arini, but yet not as silly, but almost just as hateful. Not quite. He doesn't call himself a white nationalist on paper.
Cheap David Arini.
Cheap David Arini.
Look how cheap Arini is.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that guy.
All right, so these kids were busted.
Don't fuck him.
Yeah. This March for Life happens just coincidentally to take place on the same day as the Women's March. Totally coincidence. So these kids were basically let loose on Washington. No, not kids, because Trayvon Martin didn't get to be a kid. These guys don't get to be kids. These young men.
Yes, exactly.
Were unleashed on Washington D.C. With basically no chaperonage. They ended up, after their hateful anti-woman march, they ended up at the the Lincoln Memorial, waiting for their ride to come pick them up. So what happened was that next up comes a group of black Israelites, these 4 older men. I don't know anything about the black Israelites as a group, but if you're supporting Israel, then I'm not a huge fan, as a leftist.
Yeah, same here.
But apparently the black Israelites, again according to this Facebook post, they make it a habit to be very confrontational in their activism. So they come up on the Lincoln Memorial, they see these young men wearing just completely decked out in Trump regalia, and they start hassling them. and the young men start hassling them back. And this goes on for a while. The tribal group, the natives, were doing their own march that also ended at the Lincoln Memorial. And they came on this scene. They see 50 or 60 young white men decked out in right-wing gear, just yelling at these 4 older black men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no good way to spin that, in my opinion. Yeah.
No. What the natives see is just, they didn't know that the Israelites were giving as good as they got when it came to the verbal sparring or anything like that. They just see this group of, young white men yelling at older black men, right? So they had to go up to get in between the two groups. Now, the 4 older men apparently recognized this immediately as a good thing, something to de-escalate the situation, and appreciated it. Apparently, somebody heard them saying on video, praising the natives for what they were doing. Now, Douchey McDoucherface, what's his name, Nate, or something like that, he claims that the native got up in his face, but what is apparent on video is that that's not what happened. The natives put themselves in between the two groups, but did not get close to either of the two groups. It was the young men who crowded the natives, who got up got up in their faces and then started to surround them.
I can believe that. I can definitely believe.
Mm-hmm. And then the douchey McDoucherface, who was, front and center for the video everyone saw, standing there right up in the elder's face with this smug, stupid, shit-eating smile on his face.
Everyone, no matter whose takes it is, almost everyone seems to agree that is a shit-eating grin that you just want to punch. You don't want to wish violence onto most people. Well, except for Nazis, of course. We have all established that we do wish violence on Nazis. But, that smug face that the guy had is just I want to punch you and stuff like that. Also, he looks like a 20 years younger Brett Kavanaugh.
I'm pretty sure he looks that smug because he knows no one can really punch him in the face. In his, you had to ask stream, Steve talked about that, how about it's wrong to incite violence against teenagers.
Yeah.
That's not the point. No one is going to punch his fucking face.
Yeah.
That's precisely
that's the face of a guy who has never been punched and doesn't know that one day he will be if he keeps this shit up. But
and it's not really his fault. I mean, it's a kid.
His parents.
The parents are to blame.
School. And so what happened was not the natives didn't get in their face. The kids got in their face, surrounded them. And Douchey McDoucherson, sort of worked his way out of the crowd, and he's the one who got right up in the elder's face. And left Twitter, trans Twitter, liberal Twitter, clocked him exactly right from the get-go. That was the smug, stupid, shitty face of somebody who was being an aggressive asshole. Somebody who needed to be punched.
Yep, exactly.
Since, of course, other videos have since surfaced of those private school kids being assholes elsewhere in D.C. during those marches, hassling women on the street. And also, of course, their school has a long and shitty history of being just awful racists. So, I mean,
I just saw the part of a one wearing blackface or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say is that's the sort of thing that they do with chaperonage. They have a history, a tradition of several of them, more than one, at least in the picture I saw, dressing in full blackface. Painting their whole body black, or at least waist up black. They were going shirtless. And, also having the big white smiley face painted on. Full minstrel show blackface.
Yay, neo-Nazi traditions.
Yep. And, this is older than the neo-Nazis, remember. This goes back all the way just to basic KKK fascism. And so this is what they dress up in when they're...
so Nazism.
Yeah. Well, remember, the KKK is older than the Nazis. Yeah, and then whenever their basketball team was going to play against other other schools where they had black kids on their basketball team, they would dress up in full racist blackface. And that's what they do when they have, their school chaperoning them, making sure they don't get up too much. And this school just drove them up to D.C., apparently dropped them off with no chaperonage whatsoever. It's amazing they didn't break out into actual violence.
That's all that kind of stories inspires me now. You know, big fat sigh.
Yeah. I mean, this is America.
And no, it's not just America. That's the problem. We are bombarded with that kind of stories, and we become numb to it. It's exhausting.
It's all, and there's when it's like with
and we're fucking white. It's exhausting for us, and we're white. Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me kind of mad.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It makes me mad.
And we also like know about like other far right extremism rising in like Hungary and Poland. Well, Brazil just elected Bolsonaro. So
Hungary and Poland. I don't know where this narrative come from that it's rising. It's always been there.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah. In Europe at large, the far right movements have stagnated for the last, I don't know, 30 years. So,
but now there's the internet, so they're able to communicate and, hey, we're not alone. So they go out and they're just more visible, I think.
Yeah, they're more visible, and also it's like the US discovers they exist, so they're on a rise. No, they were always there. Le Pen did the same score last election her father did 15, 20 years ago. Not greater score, the same. And every fucking election, the media, even in France, are like, oh my god, the Front National is rising. But they always do the same score every time.
It's just fascism. It's just always there.
No, but it's a fascist tactics to do that from the media. It's a means to frighten people into voting the mainstream parties, the center parties. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the neoliberal candidates, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The neoliberal right-wing conservative, yeah.
Or the center-ish, but claims to be on the left liberals like Macron or something like that. Or
no, it's not left at all. It's not center-left. It's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, he claims to be left. Sort of like the Democrats claim to be left.
No, not...
Does he even claim to be left?
No, it never quite. Okay. The guy is a bunker, for fuck's sake. No one would believe him. I mean,
you guys, what?
Strauss-Kahn was left, and he was a bunker too. So, yeah, I don't know. No, but Macron is the guy who traumatizes me because he's the same age as me, and every single time I see him, I'm like, no, he's the same age as me. That guy has the stick up his ass. Oh my god. Yes.
But the stick, at least, is 200 years old, so, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Now, does someone else is controlling that stick, like Macron is like a puppet or something like that?
No.
So it's just like, I see, okay.
Unless you... Yeah, the rich, the bourgeoisie, but they control everyone's stick. Do they?
Yeah, they do. The rich owning class, the 0.1% or something like that, do controls everyone that sticks in politics.
Yeah, he's just not as ashamed of it as former French president, where he's okay with it. He doesn't see the ill in being the president of the rich.
Or it could be the other way, where it's just like, and not that the politicians have stick up their ass and being controlled by the rich. It's just like the only difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is how fast the Republicans go to the knees in front of the rich.
Well, I do think there is some difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. They're both pro-capitalism. They're both pro-corporate. No doubt about it.
Depends which Democrats.
Yeah, but there are two wings to each of our parties. There is the conservative wing of the Democratic Party, and there is the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. The conservative wing is firmly in control, well funded by corporations. The Republicans have the Republicans have the big business wing and the fascist KKK wing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So when people talk about reasonable Republicans, they're mostly talking about the big business types. I mean, I don't agree with them, but at least they're reasonable.
Well, then I think the big business Republicans are not that different from the conservative Democrats.
Oh, yeah, I agree. They call them the left and right wings of the two parties, but they're very similar. It's just that the big business ones
both
are
right-wing parties.
Yes, they definitely are. Just the big business Republicans are more extreme.
Isn't even center anymore. It's plain right wing.
Yep.
Right wing. Your language is a bitch, okay?
It's a bit to us too, and we are native-born speakers. But then again, according to Kevin Logan, we're not speaking the language properly. Only he and other British people are speaking the language.
I beg to differ. We here in the South speak far more like the English used to speak 400 years ago than the English do today.
And I'm just a bastard in the Pacific Northwest. So also what happened this week is the government shutdown finally ended.
It
Indeed,
did. It finally ended?
Yes, yesterday in the afternoon. Basically,
Hallelujah!
The air traffic controllers were just falling to pieces. So they said, no, we're just not doing this anymore. And the FAA started shutting down major airports. And the Republican Party said, okay, oh my God, this is it. We're doing it now. We have to do it now.
I saw that they brought in children to work in the airports.
That part I did not see. Wow.
Oh, I'll link something to you if I find it.
But yeah, that's what I think. Sometimes I think some people have said like it was Nancy Pelosi. Well, Nancy Pelosi did not cave to like Donald Trump's demand and for like funding for a wall. They were steadfast on what they did. And Nancy Pelosi did say that no, Donald Trump is not like giving the State of the Union address. But I think what really probably brought down the end of the shutdown was the TSA and the unions and stuff like that saying, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Flight attendants also showing solidarity as well, and then saying that, yeah, we're shutting down the airports because we cannot operate like this anymore, especially with TSA.
Once the union stepped in and said, no, we cannot keep working without pay, and the airport shut down and business started shutting down, then that was it.
This does give me hope that, like, if people can realize that the government, even like a government with like Trump involved, and actually cave to like the unions because the unions created a shutdown in business, that hopefully, I don't know, we need numbers though, hopefully maybe like a general strike or like an earth strike could actually, if it's all well organized and everyone pitches in as much as they can and like comes in, this kind of gives me hope that like, yeah, maybe we can actually have a real impact on the world if we all come together for a general strike and an earth strike. Or at least I can hope.
Definitely. Unions need to grow. We need more powerful unions, more unions, bigger unions. Active unions, definitely. Yeah, I shared that link in Discord, not really because it's a great article. I mean, it's foxnews.com. It's awful. But I love the title in the link, that even though it's not the title of the article itself. I mean, I saw it and it just made me laugh. I mean, the title of the article is Trump Signs Bill to End Partial Government Shutdown. But the link is Trump slams claims he gave in on partial shutdown. This was in no way a concession.
Even when they lose, they can never admit that they lose until they spin as much as they can and saying, oh yeah, well listen, yes, we have signed in the bill to end the government shutdown, but believe me, we did not cave into their demands. Don't worry.
When he was elected, I didn't think he could get more ridiculous. But it has been worse and worse over the years.
We can always go more downhill, absolutely.
The only upside with that guy is old enough that he's probably going to die soon.
I hope he dies in prison.
Yeah, I hope he dies in prison too.
As long as he dies, I'm okay.
Well, I want him and his entire family to lose their stolen fortunes, for him to die in prison, and his children to have to get real jobs. After they get out of prison themselves. After they get out of prison, they have to
right. It's that, oh my god! It's like that's a reality TV show. That's like I hate reality TV show, but I think I will grab the popcorn for that.
Ivanka Trump working at Brooks Brothers or some shit. Working at Bed Bath and Beyond.
Gas station attendants. I was a gas station attendant. I can tell you that. Yeah.
Anything in the service industry, she would die.
Eric Trump driving an Uber, having to clean cum and vomit off the back seat. Oh, because no way he'd get a job working as an actual hack. So what do you think? Can we, in 5 minutes, fully discuss and hash out whether or not the USSR was actually socialist?
It was not.
It was not.
Listen, you Stalinists and tankies. I'm sorry, but what you claim to be socialist is not. If the state owns and controls the means of production, it's not the workers owns and control the means of production. That's my position.
That's called state capitalism.
Yep.
It's like China. You know that there's people who are genuinely convinced China is communist.
Oh, it is absolutely.
I mean, nothing spells communism like suicide nets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At most, like some people now, I think it will just like admit, like, well, they move into like capitalism, but
see, I think that it would be possible for a state to be socialist if the state controlled the means of production, but only if the workers actually had control over the state, which they absolutely did not in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, so you're describing an anarchist society.
Yeah. Some sort of anarchism. It doesn't have to be, anarchism covers a lot of ground, so yes. See, the thing about the USSR is that 3 of the 4 letters were lies. It was a union,
yeah, exactly.
But there was nothing Soviet about it. Soviet was, the term for basically a direct democracy sort of thing.
Yeah, workers, exactly. For the workers.
Workers' councils, basically. It wasn't socialist, and it wasn't a republic. It was a union. That was all they had going for it. But it was an autocratic dictatorship, crony capitalism, all the way down.
Now, I will say one thing, because, last year, the very last, T1J Monday stream before the new year, I was in the live chat for that one, because it was the day off for me. It's like, okay, I'll
always
come
in the live chat.
Not always for the T1J streams and stuff like that, but for Kevin and Christie's happy hours and more Steve's chats, yes, I'm always in live chats for those, and other leftist YouTubers as well. Speaking of which, Kevin Logan's having a stream later on today, in 15 minutes our time. Anyway, when I was in the T1J stream, I was talking about challenging because he seems to be like a Demstock, where it's like, we just know the person who does better, works harder, should deserve to pay more, be paid more. And I challenged that. It's like, who decides that? And so he got a sense that it's like, yeah, this is why I don't like talking with socialists or communists and stuff like that, because whenever they try to come at me with what they're talking about, I say, well, what about the USSR? And they go, well, that's not true socialism. So I wanted to address that. I can understand that frustration. I just want to speak to the feeling of I thought this was socialism, and when we come to tell them, it's like, no, it's not. They kind of just lose. They just lose something that but what I thought was correct and now that's not correct, so I can't argue against that. And so it's that's kind of an uncomfortable feeling that they get.
That's funny, because even according to Marx, the USSR wasn't socialist.
Yeah. Right, and so most people
the thing
don't know
is,
that.
it wasn't because of the T1J stream, but Steve Shives' latest Ask Away stream, or You Had to Ask. I saw you arguing with, what's his name, Humbilly or something. See, the thing is, I would say not that it wasn't true socialism, the USSR, but that it wasn't socialist at all. I wouldn't fall into the trap of arguing about true socialism versus not true socialism. Say, you can call a tail a leg, but it doesn't mean a sheep has 5 legs, right? The USSR just wasn't socialist. The workers had no control of the means of production.
Okay,
they had no control over a lot of things.
They had no control over almost anything. Yeah. I mean, Marxism, Leninism, I don't know, but it was very authoritarian. Hence why Kropotkin didn't join the government. But they might have had good intentions, but it quickly fell into an authoritarian hole and just abandoned socialism very rapidly, as I understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I am not a fan of like the gulags or them imprisoning and throwing
gulag jokes. I mean,
mm-hmm. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's like
don't they understand that the Soviet put gay people in the gulags, disabled people in the gulags, trans people?
Yep.
Yeah, this is why I cannot I cannot you get into discussions or debates with tankies or Stalinists or some Marxist Leninists. Not necessarily all of them, because if it's just on political stuff, like they believe in a state controlling the communist and socialism, which I don't agree with, and that'll be one thing. But from the Marxist Leninists and the tankies that I've seen on Twitter, most of them have been transphobes and have harassed my trans friends, and I cannot join in a unity with people like that at all. So, which is why left unity is not something that I think is something we should pursue. We can agree, if we can all agree on one issue and help to fight for that one issue, that's one thing. That's not necessarily left unity. We're not all unified because we have different end goals, but we can at least fight for one issue and stuff like that. But because I don't want to be side with or be unified with brocialists or tankies and MLs or other transphobes. That's why I can never agree with left unity.
I think that settles that. That's a pretty clear discussion. Everyone will agree with us naturally. Okay.
We could have stopped at no.
Yeah, but I wanted to hash it out. Let's see, Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and make your pitches?
Hello, I am Jonathan Scott. I'm a Random Geek on YouTube and on Twitter. My Twitter is at some random geek, but threes instead of e's in geek. I just put on my YouTube channel. I'm then going to put up a new video that can come up today. It was rendering last night, but then when I opened it up this morning, I turned on my computer on this morning, the program crashed. The editing program crashed, so I have to render it all again. But it's all complete. I have on my latest video on my YouTube channel is a review for the anime movie A Silent Voice, and that movie is going to be out at least in the USA, at least in the USA on the 28th and the 31st, and Silent Voice is one of my favorite movies in the past 5 years. It's great. It's better than Michael Shinka's Your Name, and Your Name is really a great movie. So check it out if you have a chance. And our friends Ashley Electric Mayhem 87 is still needs some money for her GoFundMe campaign to get money to get off on her own feet, but she doesn't need the money until March. Last week she thought she needed the money this week, but it turns out no, she doesn't need the money until March, so she has some time to gather the $7,000. And our friend Joanna, the Bigs online in order to live. So if anyone has a capability to, please donate via PayPal to Joanna. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's SPSEPHIR.
Sephira Joe.
Severe Joe. Thank you, Leto. Donate via PayPal to severajoe@gmail.com. Okay.
All right. And Julie, why don't you launch into your promotional?
You realized last week I forgot to give my Facebook page where I post my arts and crafts.
Oh, yes.
So on Facebook, it's the Crypt Crafter. I finally decided what my first YouTube video will be. I'm going to talk about the unique challenges of invisible disability.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's very important.
It could take 2 weeks or 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah,
because I don't know how to go about it, so we'll see.
Well, you could always go the white guy route and just be mediocre, and that'll be fine. All right. And as for me, I take part in another podcast, the Dungeons and Debacles podcast, a D&D podcast hosted by my friend Kevin. Totally different, lots of fun. We're an evil party looking to destroy the world. And that'll do it for this week in Social Justice Alchemy. See you next week.